All right, welcome back. Johnson Chukwu, the founder and chief executive officer at Cowry Asset Management, is joining me now. Mr. Chukwu, welcome to the program. Good to see you. It's been quite a while.
Thank you, Nancy, for having me.
Let's get started. Let me get your views on the appointment of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Let's start from there. How is the market community taking it, the finance community taking the news? Also on the back, I need to say this, also on the back that we have few notable Nigerians that are heading global organizations. WTO now, Okonjo-Iweala is there, African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina. We have OPEC, Barakindo is there. We also have, which other organization?
Afrexim, we have
Afrexim, yes, we have Afrexim there. You know, so we can, okay, we also have the United Nations, yes. There she is, Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, that was former Minister of Environment. What's your view on the back of the achievements that we are seemingly having right now globally?
Well, Nancy, it's a period of excitement for me, and I'm sure for a lot of Nigerians. It came as one of the most expected and most welcomed good news that we've had in the recent past. One factor is that Okonjo-Iweala is somebody who has distinguished herself in several areas she has been charged responsible for. And she's one of our best experts. So just like you said, we are now heading a lot of multilateral and global institutions. And one of the ways a country can burnish its reputation is when you begin to export your best hands to the world. If you recall, one of the factors that brought up the reputation of Ghana was when Ghana produced the United Nations Secretary General. If you cast your mind back to even when we had the Secretary General of Commonwealth in the person of Chief Anyoko, these are positions that go beyond economic value. They have huge social values. They have psychological effects on the citizens of the country that produce such personalities. So Ngozi occupying this position for me is a plus for every Nigerian, a plus for Africans, a plus for the female folks, and in all ramifications, is something that is beyond the excitement of the market. It's something that excites the society and something that uplifts us psychologically.
You know, a lot of us, especially women, it was a very wonderful day for us. Just like you said, a lot of us expected it. But it's, like she said yesterday, it was really a tough road. But for her right now, the work begins. What would you say? Let's also say this. What would you say about President Buhari support for all these people that Nigeria has put forth to head global organizations? Akinwumi Adesina, for example, Barakindo, I think a second tenor or so, Okonjo-Iweala now, and some others. What would you say? Even Amina Mohammed, former Minister of Environment, that is now the UN Deputy Secretary General.
Well, it goes to his credit, to the credit of the president. I mean, if there's anything anybody can cast aspersion on him, it's not on this with respect to sending the best hands in Nigeria to the global stage, which are one of the things that was lacking in previous instances where Nigeria was not putting its best foot forward. This time around, the caliber of people, if you remember the story of this Director General of World Trade Organization, there was a Nigerian in World Trade Organization that was among the candidates until the presidency decided to pull out that candidate and present Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, whose credentials are unassailable. And that made it possible for Nigeria to become the front runner in that race, because without bringing in the best hand or the best person forward, probably wouldn't have cleared that position. The other Africans who had presented candidates maybe could have continued to run, and then that would have divided the votes that was coming to Africa. And probably maybe the South Korean lady would have continued to run and probably clinched it. But because Nigeria decided to send the best person is to the credit of the president, I think we must commend him for that. If you look at the people who are occupying global positions from Nigeria, they are all eminently qualified. Nobody can cast aspersion on their qualifications. I mean, you just mentioned Akinwumi Adesina. You just mentioned Barakindo, and if you look at, like I said, Afrexim, we also have a Nigerian there. So in all instances in the recent past, we are selecting our best. We are sending our best 11.
Also, the president of the International Criminal Court, I think Chile Osuji, I think that was the fourth picture there, or the third picture that we took. Okay, let's move over to other matters, because even in the jubilation, we still have a lot of issues right now. Inflation numbers just came out, 16.47% as at last month. Inflation is running away. Or it don't run. With a chaser. Or central bank, the chaser. I'm not part of those chasing it. What do you think?
So your question is, what's your question then as it relates to the inflation?
My question really is about the runaway inflation. It seems that things that are being done is not really getting at it. It's skyrocketing, the highest in 34 months. So it's just running away.
Well, if you look at the inflation figures and you disaggregate it, the key thing is that what is driving inflation today? The major driver of inflation is food inflation. And if you look at the food inflation, it came at a print of 20.57, an increase from 19.56 the previous month. So the January food inflation was 20.57%. If you just oppose that to the core inflation, which came at the print at 11.85%, you realize the pressure is coming from food inflation. So we need to address the challenge. Until we address those factors that are driving up food inflation, we'll not catch up with inflation that you call the runaway inflation. And you look at what are those major items that are driving food inflation? You have things like oil. You have items like potatoes and tubers. And tubers and potato are things we produce locally. So why is it a major contributor to food inflation? Because we have dislocation of farmers in many of the farming belts of the country. So we need to address the issue of insecurity to address the food inflation. If we don't address the issue of insecurity and we continue to displace farmers, you are not going to be able to produce enough food. Because some of the food items, one of the food items we saw that increased materially in January, we have food items that we produce locally. And not because we no longer have able-bodied men, or our land is no longer arable land, but probably because we have a lot of dislocation of farmers and they are not able to produce or harvest. I hear stories like if you go to farm in Adamawa State, you can't go to farm early in the morning because you could be kidnapped or you could be killed. The same thing is happening in Zamfara State and a couple of other states. And then the insecurity has spread across the country, which is particularly disrupting farming activities. So we need to address that. For me, that is the most critical factor we need to address to bring down food inflation and drive down inflation figures.
Now let's take a look at another issue that came up just a few days ago. The National Bureau of Statistics says it's going to rebase the Nigerian economy. You will agree with me that the last rebasing we saw was also during Okonjo-Iweala days as finance minister. The NBS has said that it has, it's looking at 1.4 million structured businesses. What do you think? Better late than never than to rebase, or perhaps this time is not a good time to rebase because the economy is in a recession, so that other African countries don't overtake us as the biggest economy in Africa? There's the politics of the rebasing too.
You know, ideally, the rebasing should take place every 10 months. And this is the cycle of rebasing is such that you believe in 10 months' time, in a decade, a new business will come up, and some businesses that were not previously captured in the basket of productive activities in your country may have matured to the point that you have to begin to capture them. And that's why if you do not rebase, you are likely going to leave out some sectors of the economy that are evolving and are not already captured and they are not measured. If you cast your mind back to some of the changes that have happened in the economy in the recent past, the telecommunications sector used to account for just barely 0.2 or 0.1% of the GDP. Today it's accounting more than 14% of the GDP. If we did not rebase and bring in the telecommunications sector, today we wouldn't be measuring that size of the economy. We would have left it out of computation, out of measurement, and therefore you won't be able to incentivize that sector to grow further. So you have seen sectors like the entertainment industry. We've seen a lot of tremendous growth in that sector. You have several small sectors that we are not previously captured, which by the time they rebase the GDP, they will have them captured and brought into the basket. So it's not late. You can't say because the economy is slowing down or in a recession, you won't rebase. What that will mean is that you won't be able to capture some of the burden sectors of your economy that which were not previously captured in the GDP measurement.
So the politics of it should be off, because when the MBS came up with this announcement, that also came to my mind. Okay, Nigeria is in a recession. The last numbers we have from the NBS indicates that the country is still suffering a contraction of 3.62%. So perhaps if this contraction continues, we know a lot of businesses shut down, a lot of people are out of work. So perhaps that may also likely impact our status as the biggest economy in Africa. That's just where, you know, that was one of the things I thought about.
No, interestingly, if we do not rebase, that's actually when we will see that contraction become obvious. Take, for instance, what has happened in the economy, that you've seen a lot of migration to digital services. The logistic business is growing very fast. Some of them were not captured previously. A lot of people can now, you can now stay at your home and get somebody to bring whatever you want. You can log in with your laptop or your iPad and order for anything and it will be delivered to your doorsteps. So some of those things were not fully captured previously. Because of even the disruption we have in the economy, some other sectors of the economy have begun to grow. So this rebasing will allow the Bureau of Statistics to bring those things into the measurement of the GDP. So while you witness some decline in some sectors, you may see an uptick in other sectors that may more than compensate for the decline you are witnessing. So by the time we rebase, we may end up with a much higher GDP that we will have if we don't rebase. Because even those ones that are already captured are measured, and as a string, they are measured at a lower level. But if there is a shift in other sectors that are novel or new, we will not capture them until we rebase.
You know, I also think there is also a point there, because if you take a look at the last time we rebased, was in 2013 or 2014, and we're supposed to be rebasing every 5 years. So that means that we should have rebased like 2 years or 3 years ago. So there are a lot of businesses that I would have come through in the last few years. But let's go over to this issue, the issue of that we're still suffering a pandemic. How can we metamorphose from a pandemic pain into profit, into profitability, so to speak? How can Nigeria prosper? What kind of jobs should be created right now? What kind of environment should we have right now to enable businesses grow and to enable jobs to be created? Because we need that I don't mean inflation in terms of inflation. We need to reflate our economy. That's the word.
Okay, let me start from those sectors that bode growth opportunities in the economy. But the first thing I want to mention is that we need to first address the health crisis engendered by COVID. I was listening to the Prime Minister of England, United Kingdom, last night, and he said that hopefully this is going to be the last lockdown they're going to have. And they also say that the rate of infection is slowing down as the rate of vaccination is improving. So the more you vaccinate, the likelihood that you will achieve herd immunity and therefore arrest the health crisis. Of course, we know if any society is going through a pandemic, it shuts down or slows down economic progress, because an unhealthy person will take days off, be in the hospital, spend money in the hospital, and therefore will not be productive. So we need to first address that health challenge. That's the first thing. So I expect the government to be more aggressive in the issue of getting vaccines and vaccinating those who are most vulnerable. The frontline medical office personnel, the aged people, those with morbidities such as diabetes and obesity, and let them get vaccinated so that we will reduce the economic impact of the health crisis. The next thing we need to look at is that what are those sectors, because we are going to see a dramatic change in the global economic structure as a result of this COVID. The way we do things, the way we socialize, the way we work are all changing. And we must migrate with the migration of work practices. One of which is that we must be the backbone that will support the new work practices or work modes, which is the telecommunication infrastructure. We must expand our optic fiber across the country. We must provide at the minimum 4G and possibly adopt the 5G when it becomes readily available, so that people can work from anywhere. And that will create new job opportunities. I just mentioned the issue of logistics. Today, people hardly go to anywhere to go to shops to buy things. They have their goods, including food items, delivered in their homes. The packaging industry will grow. The logistics industry will grow. The IT infrastructural support services will grow. And then any job that does not involve physical interface will all progress. People are working from their homes. So we need to address the supporting infrastructure that will allow us to fully optimize the new work methods.
I don't want to sound like a broken record again. Talking about the greatest risk that is facing the Nigerian economy. You mentioned a bit of it, and perhaps every analyst will say now is the insecurity that is creeping its head almost in every part of the country, which is also impeding our food supply systems in the country. You can see what is happening, even the security situation impacting economic numbers. But having said that, let's take a look at another critical area, which is oil production. Oil production, I think, fell about 2%. If we take a look at oil price, what it's doing right now, Brent crude is trading at around $63 US. How do you think that we'll be able to navigate all of this, bearing in mind that we are still battling a pandemic, bearing in mind that governments will still borrow this year, bearing in mind that perhaps oil prices is going up, bearing in mind that our Naira is also suffering depreciation?
You know, interestingly, because of the improvement in oil prices, probably we will have some respite as an economy. You know, one of the challenges we've had in the recent past is the scarcity of FX, which created some level of instability in exchange rates, which made slow down the rate of foreign portfolio investment. And I need to establish the nexus between scarcity of FX and foreign portfolio investment. If you look at the last report on capital importation, you will observe that portfolio investment inflow was just $35 million, the lowest we've seen in the recent past. Of the $1 billion, portfolio investment was only 35 million. And normally, portfolio investment accounts for 60–70% of the total capital imported in the country, principally because we have scarcity of foreign exchange, which has made it difficult for those who sold their investment, foreign private investors sold their investment to exit the Nigerian market. Because they are trapped, new investors are now coming in. And remember that some of these capital flows help lubricate the economy. So as oil price recovers, I believe the CBN will have the war chest to meet the demands of those who need to exit the economy, and that will open up the windows for new people to come in. And with capital flows, you will see an improvement in forex liquidity. People who want to bring in their goods will find it easier to access forex, and then productive activities will resume. That's one aspect I expect that we're going to see from the increase in crude prices. In terms of crude production, of course, we are limited by OPEC quota. But the good thing is that the government, for the first time, has had the political will to drive through the licensing of the marginal fields. It's expected that this will be completed in the first quarter of this year. And I want to believe that the marginal field operators will help enhance Nigeria's crude production.
Okay, Mr. Chukwu.
Yeah, go ahead with your next question.
No, just sorry, we've come to the end of the show, so sorry for interrupting you. I think we'll continue sometime again, as we'll continue to observe what's happening in the economic space. Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure, as usual.
All right, I'll be speaking with Johnson Chukwu, who is the founder and chief executive officer at Cowry Asset Management Limited. That's the show today. Thank you for staying with us. Please stay with us again tomorrow, or tune to this program tomorrow on this channel. Be the best you can be the change you want to see. Don't forget to wear your mask. I am Nancy Nnaji. Thank you for watching our video. Please hit the subscribe button below, turn on post notification to follow all our updates.